TDPK Podcasts, Thailand GameChanger, inside the minds of Thailand's innovators. Hi, this is Michael Waits, and welcome back to Thailand GameChanger. Today, I'm joined by Saroj Ativitavas, the founder and CEO at Wisible. Saroj, how are you doing today? And thanks for coming on the show, by the way.
I'm good. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Can you give our audience a bit of your background for context?
Sure. My name is Saroj. I'm born and raised in Thailand. So I also graduated MBA in Thailand in the year 2000.
2000?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In which many people must know that we have the Tom Yam Goong crisis at the time.
Right.
So that's an economic crisis of Thailand, starting from Thailand. Therefore, the economic situation during that time is not good.
Right.
That's why I decided to continue my study on an MBA.
Okay.
And then I start my first job at one of the largest telco in Thailand. At the time, the mobile communication technology is still at 2G. And I think all Thailand, we only have like less than 5 million mobile subscribers.
So 5 million mobile subs in 2000. I want to get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the crisis first.
Okay.
I remember because I was working, let me see, in 1997, where was I? I think I was at Deutsche Bank. But definitely trading through the financial crisis from 1997 into 2000. Not the first time and not the last time for me either. But how do you think, if you look back now, graduating in the middle of a financial crisis sort of informed your view on business building and management?
Yeah, it's tough. At that time, I think most of my friends, we have like two halves. First half, they study in finance major.
Right.
And another half is like marketing and management.
Okay.
That's my friends. And at that time, the people who work in the finance industry, they got a lot of good salary. They got a lot of bonus, say 2 years bonus at that time.
Really?
So many students like prefer to study in finance.
Right.
But then Tom Yam Goong crisis happened, you know. So everybody like need to change the plan of their life and work.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I was trading back then, right? So I watched the entire crisis. And back in 1997, actually, I had not been in Thailand yet. My first time here was in 1998. So I didn't understand the impact of what was happening for the crisis. Mm-hmm. Surely as I got older, I figured out what was happening. We can have an entire conversation about that for sure. And you studied what? Marketing?
Yes.
You did, right? And did you always intend to be an entrepreneur, or did you really expect to work for companies for most of your life?
Frankly speaking, I didn't know myself.
Okay.
At that time.
At the time.
Yeah. So after a while, I would say a long while, until I would say 30 plus years old. So then I realized myself that I want to be the entrepreneur.
Right. It's a weird feeling. We'll get to that too as well. Now, you mentioned that you worked at one of the biggest phone companies in Thailand. I'm just going to say it explicitly. So AIS, Advanced Information Services. And you also worked at True, which is interesting. So you have a unique perspective. But you're saying when you joined AIS, it only had 5 million, or in the whole country, there were only 5 million mobile subs.
Less than 5, yeah.
Wow. And today there are, 70 something million subs, right?
Yeah.
Mobile penetration is more than 100% in Thailand.
Yeah.
What was it like back then, working at AIS, and then even after that at True? Did you feel like, or did you sense that you were part of some kind of revolution? Did you understand back then that as you move from 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G, that the penetration was going to get much higher and the impact it was going to have?
Yeah, actually the transition from 2G to 3G is take a long period of time.
Where were you when that happened? Was that at AIS or at True?
3G?
Yeah.
At True already.
At True.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I interrupted you.
And back then during my time at AIS,
right,
we have the celebration party of 1 million subscribers. After it's like a new high of the company at the time.
It sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
After many years of business.
Right.
But then we from 1 million to 2 million, it take like less than a month, less than 6 months, I would say.
Did it really?
Yeah.
So did you have a party for 2 million or no?
No.
It wasn't even important enough
I don't think they have a celebration for like a X million anymore. Because it's growing so fast.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Did you sense that things were growing fast and that there was a
Yes.
revolution going on in mobile?
I am part of the like a new department at the time. So we have new employee joining every 15 days.
Every 15 days?
Yeah.
Okay. And which department were you in?
It's called like corporate solution.
Corporate solutions.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? You were selling or working with companies to use the mobile phone for
Yeah,
business
B2B,
purposes,
yeah.
for B2B purposes. And was that hard at the beginning? You know what I mean? Like the idea that somebody would need, because I remember when I first saw people carrying around cell phones, and I just thought, this is completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
At the beginning, yeah.
Yeah. It's easy actually because it's news, and I think the company that I work for, they have a lot of advantage. They have the largest coverage. They have a good brand.
Right.
They have like everything. So the customer are the market is still emerging.
Right.
So everybody have a need. They have the budget to.
Right.
They know that they need to spend in this technology.
Okay.
So it's quite easy back then. So the target is setting, and then we beat it like every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
It wasn't even hard. We should mention to people that today, if my numbers are correct, AIS has 40-something million mobile subs and True has 30-something million mobile subs. And now,
I guess so.
like you said, you can't have a party every time you cross a threshold because there just would have been too many celebrations.
Yeah, nobody expect that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you remember when the iPhone came out?
Yeah. 2008 something. Right?
Here, right?
Yes.
Did you feel the change? I did. It was so different.
Multi-touch, the pinch things. Yeah, that's quite innovative.
Do you remember the first time you saw it and you used it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that time, I was in USA. Actually,
You were?
Yeah.
What were you doing there?
I on business trip.
Okay. So you want to know what's really interesting? The first time I saw an iPhone, a physical iPhone, was in Thailand.
Yeah.
And I actually saw somebody using it. Somebody from Europe was using it, and they dropped it into the pool.
Okay. At that time, they allow each people to buy only one device, one iPhone.
Really?
Yeah.
Right, because they didn't want
yeah.
people reselling them, right,
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
profit.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. And which was your first iPhone? I presume you carry an iPhone at some point.
The second version.
Yeah, same here. I think I had an iPhone 3GS. I can't remember.
3GS. Oh, that like a newer version.
Yeah, I can't
already,
remember
yeah.
what it was. So you were early in the telco business, early in the mobile business, but you were also early in the startup business, right? So you worked for, what was it, True and Cube?
Yeah.
And also for Ascend.
Yeah.
You moved actually from the mobile business into the investment business,
Yes.
right? What was it like back then? When did you start that? 2012, 2013?
Yes. It's like stepping into the new world. So part of my job, actually, I involved in like a legal, like financial analysis thing.
Okay.
Like part of my job.
Right.
Because we're selling a lot of like complex solutions to the large corporate.
Right.
So it's involved like many aspects of this kind of the things already. But then my boss at that time, they like invite me, and he noticed that I have some profile regarding the startup. I have some training regarding the startup. I read a book
Okay.
about the startup, and he saw that, and they like asked me to join.
What was the book that you were reading, or what were the books you were reading
At
back
the
then?
time, it's about written by the Y Combinator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Paul Graham? No,
Yes.
yeah, Paul Graham, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever read The Lean Startup by Eric Rice?
Lean startup. Just a summary.
Just a summary. Fair,
Yeah.
fair enough. Were you excited to move from sort of the B2B sales business into the investment business? Was it something you asked to do, or is it something that they asked you to do?
Say again, sorry.
To move into the investment business when you moved to True and Cube, and then you worked with Ascend as well.
Yeah.
Right? Was that something you wanted to do, or just something that the company asked you to do?
Yeah, at that time, I already realized myself that I want to be the entrepreneur, but I don't want to be the investor actually.
Really?
Yeah, but when the opportunities is come, I say yes. because at least I can step into the startup world.
I completely understand. Yeah, I completely understand. So what do you think you learned by, and I want to get to VCs later in the conversation, right? But as a stepping stone into becoming an entrepreneur, maybe you can tell us what it was maybe after you said you turned 30 that sort of hinted to you, I don't think I want to work at a big company anymore. I want to start my own thing. What was that feeling like?
Deep inside you have a feeling that you don't enjoy working under control the instruction of others.
Right.
You want to do your own things in your own way.
In your own way, right?
In your own way.
Right.
You want to build something that you never get permission to do if you stay inside other company.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of a feeling.
So do you find it interesting that when you graduate from high school and everybody kind of goes through a standardized high school education, when you get to university, it's just, you can pick any course you want. There are some assigned courses that you have to have, right? Mandatory courses, but otherwise you can pick a major, you can pick the courses inside that major to do. You have all this choice. And yet, when you graduate and go back inside a company, it's almost like going back to high school in a way where you're just told exactly what to do on a mandatory basis. Do you understand?
Yes. Actually, if you are, you can volunteer to work outside your scope of work. That you assign you to do, right?
Right.
So that you can learn from others. I do that for many times.
Okay.
And my boss is kind enough to allow me to do that.
Right.
So I have a chance to learn a multiple skill.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think is some of the important stuff that you learned inside of a big company that you can use when you're building your own company?
Oh, I think many things. I would say it's like corporate survival skill.
What does that mean?
Working in the large corporate, I would say any large corporate.
Right. Yeah, same everywhere.
I think they would have boundary. They will have some, that for this stuff, for this issue, who should you talk to?
Right.
To get the jobs done.
Right.
It's not. Sometimes it's one people can stop everything.
Right.
That's a corporate the way of work. so I learned that, and I think I can work well and survive in the corporate world.
Fair enough.
I didn't enjoy that.
You did not enjoy
I
it.
didn't enjoy that.
So
half of my time I spend on the thing that I don't think I learn from.
It's not productive at all. It's not fun to do.
Yeah.
I'll mention this to you. So I worked at Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs and in the financial services industry for 25 years. And my least favorite part about working there was this corporate survival you're talking about. I just want to get stuff done. And the idea that you just have to go around this way and around that way to get things done is just, it's soul destroying.
Yeah, funny things. Not sure if I should mention.
Go ahead.
You have a censor. You will censor the content. No. Okay. Let me give one example.
Please do.
I will not mention the company name.
No, please don't.
Okay. But when we would like to get the agreement signed, can you guess how many steps it take?
15. I have no idea.
22.
22?
Yeah.
Okay.
It take in average 2 months.
Why? Why was it so long?
Yeah. That's a question that I asked.
22.
Yeah.
So this is another thing you learn when you build your own company, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well. You want to remove all of those steps.
Yeah, of
and
course.
you really want to give the people that work with you, not even for you, the ability to make decisions. You wouldn't hire them if you didn't think they could make a proper decision.
Sure.
Because if everything has to go through you anyway.
The important
Of
stuff.
course, the important stuff, right? Like you're going to have to sign off on paying for things and stuff like that.
Yes.
But you want to empower the people that work for you to make decisions. Otherwise, you should just have everything come to you from the start.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right?
And we become the bottleneck.
Yeah, and you don't want to be the bottleneck at all.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to go back to the startup ecosystem in Thailand because you've just taken so many steps along the way, again, from mobile to investing and then into building your own companies. What do you think has changed in the last 5 or 6 years from 2015 until today?
Okay. I think it changed a lot during the beginning
Go ahead.
I would say back like 7 years ago.
Okay.
During the first 3 years, I think it changed a lot.
So 13, 14, 15.
But the last 4 years, I don't think it changed much.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I used to predict
Go
that all the major corporate in Thailand will have a CVC fund.
Which they do now.
It's already happened.
Right, they do. Yes.
I can also predict the sequence,
The sequence of
which
which one?
industry will
Which
start
one?
first and
Okay.
who will be the last.
So who do you think was going to be the first? I don't want to know the name, but just the industry.
A telco, yeah, obviously.
Of course. So every
yeah.
telco had a VC
Yeah.
fund,
And
right?
then the bank.
And then the banks.
bank,
And
real
so who
estate.
was last?
It's still the bank.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. How about the insurance companies? Because even the
They have-
insurance
they have
companies,
some, yeah.
they do now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do a really large InsurTech podcast. So we sometimes talk to the people at the insurance companies in Thailand that have built these sort of innovation centers and CVC funds as well. Really interesting. Okay. Now I want to talk about Wisible. Now, your last name, right? I love this a lot. Ativitavas, right?
Yeah.
So it's got a bunch of W sounds in it that are actually spelled with a V when you transliterate it into English, right? So I'm really curious, is the company meant to be visible, but with a W to kind of be like a play on words for the pronunciation? Or is that just an accident? Was that purposeful? You know what I mean, right?
Yes. Actually, it's come from, the word visibility.
You're right.
Yeah, visibility.
Right.
But if you run tech company before, you know that it's very difficult to get .com domain.
That's what I was gonna say.
For that word.
Right.
So we need to change a bit. Right. Okay. At first, I used another. I changed the E
Right.
to a C, but
Okay.
it's
not readable.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not readable.
So I changed V to W instead.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because it's very Thai in a way.
Yeah, then it becomes, it's good. It's have a good meaning behind this as well. It's a wise and visibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also WYSIWYG, right? What you see is what you get.
Yes.
So I loved the name of this company, actually.
Thank you.
And can you tell? So you've started other companies before you started this, right?
It's still the same company, the same entity.
Right.
But we change the business.
Change the business.
Yeah.
So this is what 5-loop into Wisible?
Yeah.
Yeah? Because they're related to each other.
Yes.
What exactly does Wisible do?
Okay. At Wisible, we call ourselves the customer lifecycle intelligence platform.
Clip.
Okay. So basically, we help the business customer to drive the predictable revenue.
Predictable revenue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easy to say, very difficult to do.
Right.
Right.
So walk me through that process. Like, how does it actually work?
Yeah, it's actually the core concept is really simple. In order to drive the predictable revenue
Right,
for
right.
B2B, you need to be able to drive the predictable lead generation first.
Right. So you have to start really at the top of the funnel, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And that the marketing stuff, not sales.
Go ahead.
And I think we find the disconnection between two worlds.
Okay. Between what? Between marketing and sales?
Marketing and sales.
Okay.
First.
Go ahead.
And the second is that between the creative and tech.
Okay.
You watch like the film the Aquaman, right? Aquaman. They call him half breed.
Right.
So I think we call ourselves like we are like half creative and half tech, and then we bridge the disconnection between marketing and sales.
Okay.
So that for the customer, if they want to drive the predictable lead generation and sales, we can do that.
So is there an agency aspect to this business as well, in the
Yeah.
sense that you help people with the marketing?
Yeah, you cannot avoid that.
You can't avoid it.
Yeah.
But this is what you were doing anyway when you were at AIS at some point, right? Were you working in the marketing department at all or no?
A bit, yeah, a bit.
A bit? And did you ever do sales on your own or no?
Yes, I run sales team.
So you ran a sales team.
Yeah.
So you've actually experienced that separation between marketing and sales.
Yeah.
So when you were doing sales, did you start having this idea that there should be more of a connection between the two and that technology could maybe enable this?
Yes, I think these two worlds, just like Aquaman again, the land and the sea are the one.
Right.
You cannot separate that.
Nope.
They cannot work separately.
No, not at all.
How can you drive predictable revenue without have a predictable regeneration?
What do you mean by regeneration?
Regeneration is that you run the marketing campaign through
Right.
like a multiple channel, and then you hope that the customer will come back, and then maybe fill in the form or call the call center or contact sales.
Got it.
Or chat in that kind of thing. We call that a lead.
So how do you use technology to enable that?
So it half tech and half creative,
Right.
So you have to have the people with a creative mind to know how to create the artwork, to create the message.
Okay.
And then to run the marketing campaign.
Right.
Yeah, through multiple channel, online and offline.
Right.
Yeah, and then you need another species,
species,
of
another
people
breed.
who know how to run the marketing automation, Facebook ad, Google ad, and maybe a series of email, a sequential email automation.
Right.
Yeah, to in order to generate the quality lead.
So what does Wisible do? Like, does it connect existing tools like MailChimp and stuff like that to do the automated email? Do you build all those tools yourself?
They are like we are talking about, I would say, maybe 6 or 7 components, and we would say most of the components we do it ourselves.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did connect to integrated to some of the third party as well, but I would say 5 out of 7 we do it ourselves.
And is that because you couldn't find the appropriate tools in Thai?
Yes, most everything is in Thai actually.
Right, but I mean, did you find the fact that if you went out and looked for a tool that you could use and integrate as a sort of a third-party service, that it wasn't usable in the Thai language?
It's usable actually, but because our customer are now the large corporate,
Right.
and they need customization.
Right,
you know.
right, right.
And when you need customization,
It's just, yeah, it's really hard, right?
you need to understand the technology at the core.
Right.
If we are just we are not a reseller of any brand,
Right.
because they only allow you to do the customization at certain point,
Right.
only.
Right.
But if you want to do like some deep
Right, deep
customization,
customization.
you need to build it yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is your sales cycle like? In other words, do you use your own product
Yeah.
to drive this
Yeah, of
regeneration
course,
of
of course,
sales?
of course.
You do?
Yeah.
And okay. And what is your sales cycle like? Because again, big corporates are very traditional. You know this from working it there. 22 times you need a stamp or a signature to get approval to sign a
Yeah.
contract. What is it like when you go to sell to a big corporation for your product?
Yeah, I spent 20 years in B2B industry, so I understand all the pain. So when we talk about B2B,
Right.
We're talking about like a large deal value, like complex sales,
Right.
Like we're selling solution. You
Yep.
know, it's a long sales cycle. We're talking about like 2 months, 3 months, 6 months,
Right.
and then you need a good technical salesperson to pitch, to understand the pain point, and you come up with a solution. It takes time.
It does.
But once you close the deal, it's worth. Because
definitely worth it.
Yeah, the deal value is high. Yeah, that's kind of the deal.
Yeah, and to be fair, most of those corporate customers stay on forever because even if someone comes and builds a newer solution, the switching costs
Yeah.
are so high,
Yeah.
right, that it's hard.
Yes.
Talk to me about how did you fund your company?
We start by my own saving first,
Right.
And then we raise the money from a corporate investor,
From a CVC.
from the, I would say, corporate.
Okay, so not directly from a corporate venture capital company, but a corporate saw your product and said,
Listed company.
maybe we should buy some of this
Yeah.
ourselves. Okay. Can you talk to me about the benefits or drawbacks of self-funding versus this sort of myth of, venture capital funding?
Yeah, sure. I would say compare between the so as I mentioned earlier, I think the VC funding is like overrated, and then the bootstrapping or self-funding is underrated.
Why do you think VC funding's overrated?
Because I think there are a lot of the misunderstanding regarding the VC fund raising. When you take the money from the VC,
Right.
You work from VC before, yeah. You know that it's not free. It's come with a lot of obligation.
A lot of strings attached.
Yes, and a lot of control. So you lose a lot of that. And I'm not sure if the founder actually understand that. They only see the good side of it, but
Right.
there are a lot of dark side as well.
Right. Yeah, in a way, it's like having a bad boyfriend. right? Because because it all seems great at the beginning.
Yeah.
It all seems really exciting. You tell your friends, I just got funded. And then you start losing little bits and pieces, right? Which is why it's really important. In my mind, money's a commodity. It's really important to find, if you're going to go down the VC route, find a really good one. And definitely find one that understands the balance between they wanted to work with you because they loved what you were building versus their idea that maybe they can run your company better than you can. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I would mention some of the word that saying from my good friend that, you know, most of the time when not most of the time, sometimes
right.
when you meet with the investment associate at some of the VC,
sure.
sometimes you met, you know, the fresh graduated
Yep.
who never did any business before,
right?
and tell that your pitching deck is suck,
right?
You know, but he or she never do that before.
I completely understand this point, which is why I never want to talk to the most junior person at any venture capital company. I think they should be in the background learning stuff. And I think I think that's a really interesting job for them. I want to talk to decision makers. And if somebody tells me that something that I'm doing is bad, I want them to have done it themselves before. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In other words,
if
I make an omelet or a cake or something, I want a chef to tell me this is a terrible version of that cake. But I don't want like a 12-year-old to tell me, my adoy. It's just
fair.
not right. It's just not right, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I completely understand. And is there an inherent joy in knowing that you used your own savings, that you bootstrapped, and that you build something that's sustainable?
I would say that if you have a opportunity to do that,
right.
I would encourage everybody to follow that route.
Okay.
Instead of take a VC money, because you know I think the good source of the revenue, good source of money, the best source is from the revenue,
the business
from
itself.
the customer.
Absolutely.
That's the best source.
I agree.
You know, from the happy customer
Exactly.
who willing to pay you for your stuff that you build.
Right. So if you can get revenue in from one client, use that to build more product or improve your product to get more clients, and then keep recycling, or to use your word, regenerate.
Yes.
That's the best way to fund.
Sure.
Yeah, I completely understand because I've done the same thing. Can you talk to me a little bit about colonialism without force in the digital age?
Yeah. You take a look at many of the industry in Thailand.
Okay.
Say, chat, social media, taxi booking, e-commerce.
Right.
Like who own the market, you know, who own the largest market share.
Right.
They're all a foreign company.
So let's go through this for a second. Line, WhatsApp, Facebook. I'm not done
Google,
yet. Shopee,
Grab,
Google, Grab, Alibaba.
Yeah.
Right, owns Lazada. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the list go on, right?
It does.
And this what we call the digital economy. You know, everybody realized that it's important, you know, for the future of the country.
It's very important.
How can we let the foreign company own all the market share?
Yeah.
In this what's so important industry of the country.
Right.
So that's what I call the colonialism without using force.
And I don't think anybody's actually paying attention to it. Because by the time it happens, it's too late.
Yeah, I think I would say that
right. I mean, some countries actually do this really well. So if you go to China, which is a large domestic market.
Yeah, they have a great China great firewall, right?
But they do this on purpose, right? So there's WeChat, there's very little Facebook. Google doesn't exist there. They tried, but they couldn't live up to whatever the rules were in that country.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's not because of that, but as such, these Chinese internet giants were able to grow up and grow nicely, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that was actually not, it was like a digital militarism and protection against that kind of colonialism.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and I think
government
Russia's actually a similar market too, right?
Yeah. I think the government, say Chinese government, they are so smart in protecting their local economy and the startup ecosystem. So they know that if they let that, giant tech company,
right,
it will take the market share.
Yeah, and they'll lose the ability to innovate as well internally.
Yeah.
But you also made a really good point. You talked about customization. I'll talk about it in the terms of localization. Right, localization of some of some app or of some online business is not merely just changing the language and changing the font. You have to understand, like you said, deep down what that culture is and what the language is, so you can really customize that experience for the local culture. Is that fair?
Yeah, I believe that with equal amount of money, of capital,
Right.
the homegrown startup will win.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair, with the unequal amount of capital, but it's a caveat, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I've thought a lot about who really should be running the e-commerce business in Thailand, in Malaysia. Indonesia actually does a really good job of this as well, right? Because the biggest e-commerce and digital players in Indonesia are uniquely Indonesian.
Yes.
Really interesting.
Yeah, I asked the question to I went to Indonesia like 2 years ago and have a chance to ask the question to one of the founder of the Bukalapak,
Bukalapak, right.
the second place, right?
Right. To Tokopedia.
How can you survive the, China invasion
Right.
of selling, lower than cost?
Fair enough.
The founder answer is that the government protect them.
He's right.
They have the tax wall basically
Right.
to protect the China the goods
Right.
to coming in and selling at the lower than cost.
Lower than cost. Yeah, I got it. So the last thing I'll ask you is, what do you think is going to change the game in Thailand for tech startups?
For tech startup, I would say for some industry it's maybe too late, but I still have the belief that we always have a chance, and I hope that the large corporate would find a way to collaborate with the local startup,
Right.
and like together they can fight against the giant tech startup from foreign.
From abroad, right?
Yeah.
So it's my feeling that I don't think e-commerce has been solved yet. And I still think, actually, and people argue with me about this, I don't think that social has been solved yet either. And I do think that there is an opportunity. I'm very optimistic about this sort of next wave of development and innovation in both of those spaces. And I do think there's room for local businesses. You have some massive, the mall group here runs a massive retail group, right? CP is a huge company with $65 billion of revenue every year. And also Central Group. So some 3 of the biggest companies in Thailand have an opportunity to take all the resources that they have, plenty of investment money, right? To look around at the landscape and say, let's do something really innovative in e-commerce. Let's do something really innovative in search even, right? And let's do something really innovative in social that foreigners can't do. That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I really want to thank you for coming in and doing this today. I
Yeah,
really
my pleasure.
appreciate your time. Really interesting. Saroj Ativitavas, the founder and CEO at Wisible. It was great to have you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
TDPK Podcasts, Thailand GameChanger. Inside the minds of Thailand's innovators.